"We are looking for my niece, Rukiye," he said, peering through the mangled wreckage of a hospital in the southern Turkish province of Hatay on Wednesday. The man had bloodshot eyes and appeared exhausted. She is a nurse, 23. After the first earthquake, she went to the hospital to assist with patient evacuation. When the second earthquake struck, the building fell on her. She was able to save so many people, but she was unable to escape. She called her husband from beneath the rubble, so we know she was alive for at least 16 hours. She is most likely no longer, according to the rescuers. Following the devastating earthquakes on Monday, it is thought that thousands of people, including Rukiye, are still trapped among the wreckage of collapsed buildings throughout southeast Turkey. The government reports that as of Thursday afternoon, more than 12,800 people had died as a result of two major earthquakes, hundreds of aftershocks, and the destruction of at least 6,444 buildings in 10 provinces. An awful combination. The nation is now attempting to comprehend why this natural disaster, for which Turkey was allegedly preparing for more than 20 years, caused such severe damage to the nation's infrastructure as rescuers continue to search through the rubble in search of miracles. Was the negligence on the part of the authorities, or were the two earthquakes, the first at a magnitude of 7.8 and the second at a magnitude of 7.6, just too powerful for most buildings to survive? Professor Okan Tisius, a geological engineer from Istanbul Technical University, claims that a tragic confluence of all of the aforementioned factors resulted in Monday's disaster. According to Tisius, there have been truly massive earthquakes here. The energy released during the first one was roughly comparable to that of an explosion of 5 million tons of TNT. The second was 30.5 million tons, or so. Most structures wouldn't be able to withstand such force. The Earthquake Retrofit Association of Turkey's president and civil engineer Sinan Turkan concurred. In addition to being very powerful, the earthquakes also occurred quickly one after the other, he said. The first earthquake only caused light to moderate damage to many buildings. However, after the second one, many of those buildings collapsed. Experts stressed that a tragedy of this magnitude was not inevitable, despite the fact that tremors of this magnitude followed by rapid succession would be dangerous for any building. 6,000 to 7,000 buildings collapsed on Monday, according to official estimates. No earthquake, no matter how powerful, could have caused this much destruction if all the buildings were up to code, according to Turkan. During a visit to the disaster area on Wednesday, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan defended his country's preparations for and response to the earthquakes, claiming it was impossible for anyone to prepare for the scale of the disaster. He continued by saying that the state would reconstruct all destroyed structures in the 10 earthquake-affected provinces within a year. We will rebuild here in the same way that we did in Malatya, Ilasig, Bingöl, and Van. We are quite familiar with this industry. In the past, our government repeatedly demonstrated its capacity for rebuilding. In Hatay, Maras, as well as the other 8 affected provinces, we will accomplish the same goal. When a magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck the western Marmara region in 1999, killing 17,500 people, the majority of the buildings that collapsed that day were built before that time. In order to get Turkey ready for the next major earthquake, the government significantly improved the country's seismic design code after that and began an expansive urban transformation project in 2008. enforces the law. Environment and Urbanization Minister Murat Kurum emphasized that the government was working to have every building in the nation earthquake safe by 2035. In November 2022, after a magnitude 6 earthquake in Duz, northern Turkey, damaged more than 2,000 structures, Kurum stated on social media that 3.2 million homes have already been rebuilt. In order to comply with current regulations, 250,000 homes in 81 provinces and 992 districts are currently being transformed. The audit covered 6.1 million homes and businesses. Currently, 24 million of our citizens reside in homes that are quake-safe. However, despite their best efforts, they were unable to stop the catastrophe. According to paper, Turkey's seismic design code meets international requirements and is even better than most, according to Turkin. But in reality, the situation is very different. The government did not make participation in its urban transformation project mandatory, but it did provide financial incentives. Effectively, this meant that only those who could profit from rebuilding are those who owned valuable plots suitable for further development who agreed to tear down their old homes and build new ones in accordance with the most recent code. Many people did not want to spend money on reinforcements or reconstruction work that did not seem urgent. This is the reason, according to experts, more than 20 years after the Marmara earthquake, Turkey is full of buildings built with subpar materials and decades-old construction methods that instantly collapse under a strong tremor. As an engineer, I'm deeply saddened by this, Turkin said. We could have strengthened or rebuilt all faulty structures over the past 20 years if we could get everyone on board. At least 5,000 of the structures that we lost on Monday could have been spared from total devastation. Numerous lives could have been saved. The government and local authorities, according to interpreters, could have taken additional measures to guarantee that all structures were secure and that earthquake design guidelines were being followed in all circumstances. For years, we held conferences, produced reports, and delivered them to the local government. We warned them that major earthquakes would inevitably strike cities like Hatay and Gaziantep once more, said Tisius. We told them that no structure built directly on a fault line can withstand an earthquake. It will be destroyed, no matter how sturdy it is. We advised drawing up precise maps of the nation's fault lines and designating areas directly adjacent to active faults as green zones that are prohibited from being developed. No one gave a listen. Even new construction lacked. Additionally, there were issues with ensuring that rules were followed when building new structures. In this earthquake, some relatively new buildings also collapsed, which likely means contractors took shortcuts, tried to save money by using inferior materials, and authorities failed to do their due diligence before approving construction projects, Tisius said. On Monday, several hospitals, office buildings, schools, and even the Hatay headquarters of Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Authority, AFAD, collapsed. Public structures are expected to be significantly more durable than private ones, according to state regulations, Turkin said. When building a hospital, a post office, or any other public building, you are told to use more concrete, more iron, and get more thorough ground studies. By doing this, it will be possible for those structures to withstand an earthquake or other natural disaster and continue to provide assistance to the public when needed. Tissues acquiesced. It is totally
According to a
unacceptable
Reuters
for a public
poll,
building,
the industrial
a power
sector
plant,
in
or
Turkey
an
likely
airport
shrank
collapse
by
in an
1.3%
from the same
to stop
time
this,
last year.
there are
The
a country was about to release
regulations
its
in
December
place.
industrial
The
production
taking place
figures
today in the
Additionally,
southeast
Turkey
are
was
evidence
scheduled
of
to
the
announce
state's
its shortcomings
unemployment
rate for the
enforcing
month
its
on
own
Friday.
laws even
The
in
nation had
buildings over
already
which it has
struggled with
complete
extremely
control.
high inflation and
What
industry
should be
stagnation
then,
after a
in
post-pandemic
there are
boost.
about
A
20
surge
million
in
public
buildings.
spending
According
is
to the
anticipated
Candili
as a result of
Observatory and
Monday's
Earthquake
destruction,
Research
which is also
Institute
expected to be accompanied by an influx
there are
of aid,
1.2
including
million people living in
$1.78
Istanbul,
billion
where
in relief and recovery financing assistance from the World Bank.
According to their
still
experts,
assessing the long-term economic
portion of
effects
these
of this
buildings aren't
catastrophe.
prepared
Trading
to
has been
withstand
halted
tremors of
until
large
February
magnitude.
15th by
It would be technically
Istanbul's challenging, logistically challenging, and expensive to reinforce or rebuild all buildings that are at risk in all earthquake-prone areas. Nevertheless, it is a task that cannot be put off or avoided, forcing people to have their buildings inspected, reinforced, and, if necessary, rebuilt requires more force from the government. According to Turkin, it is understandable that people are reluctant to pay up, but this should be treated as a matter of life and death.